Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Ties That Bind DFW podcast. I'm your host, Amber Monroe, and my goal is to help foster unity within the community by sharing stories that inspire hope, passion, and resilience. I also like to spotlight local businesses as well. In a world that likes to focus so much on the divisiveness of social media and not everything you see is authentic, I'm here to bring the real. The views and opinions of my guests don't necessarily reflect those of mine or the Ties That Bind DFW podcast. All right, let's get into it. Guys, I am very excited to introduce to you a man that I connected with recently, Dr. Randy Bell. He has developed an amazing program to help educate children about all the things that you need to learn in life, those life skills that you usually wait until a person's an adult to teach. Well, he's making sure that kids are able to get on that at a young age. Randy, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, and welcome.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Dr. Randy Bell. I'm a outpatient pharmacist at Hunt Regional Hospital, licensed realtor, author, and also the creator of Smart Starter Kits. So that is basically an educational resource for kids ages 6 to 10. Kind of teaches them some future-proofing skills like AI, crypto, business, and emotional intelligence. So that's something that I've developed. Just want to put that out, get that in front of as many people as possible.
That's awesome. When I went and looked at your page, I'm a homeschooler myself. I don't know if you knew that, but these are skills that are so good for kids to learn. And it's giving parents those tools as well. Can you kind of tell me what kind of brought you to the place of creating this system for children and parents as educators?
Well, I'm a father myself, and just looking at the education system, it's rapidly evolving. I mean, just in the past 5 years post-COVID, I mean, it seems like we've advanced 20 to 30 years. So time is moving very quickly, and wanted to create some educational content that could reflect that. So just thinking, what's some hot topic buttons in society right now. Everybody's talking about AI. Everybody's starting to hear about crypto, might not necessarily know what it is. People starting to be more industrious, going into business. And also in a world where, a lot of these children are glued to their iPads, person-to-person interaction still will, be able to help. So just wanted to create something that'll kind of touch on all of those things.
That's great. And, it's funny. I saw that, about crypto, and I feel like I might could pick that up and learn something myself. So anyone, it seems like it would be good for many ages. And I'm just kind of like, let me look in on that too.
You learn by teaching. So, a lot of times parents that are going over it with their kids can start to understand the concepts at a very fundamental level, and then kind of build on top of that. So it actually works for both teacher and student, if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. And that's very true. I find that I do learn and relearn things as I teach. So that's very true. Who would you say is your biggest client, like for people that are purchasing these? Is it a lot of parents of public schoolers who are looking to add something extra? Is it homeschoolers, or do you have that data yet?
It's a little bit of both. Right now, I want to get it into the school systems, just simply as a supplement. Like I said, this isn't to replace anything. It's just more so an add-on, elective or something like that. So that's the big goal of it. Right now, though, just want to get it in as many parents' hands just so they can see it, understand it, provide that to their children, and then kind of sit back and be like, wow, they actually understand and can speak to it. So
yeah, that's a great avenue to go through. And from what I've heard from others, that can be very beneficial for kids and you as well. That could be a great avenue to go through. So I hope that you're able to make that happen, because that would be amazing. I guess my next question would be, What, if any, challenges did you encounter while creating this curriculum, if any?
Not necessarily challenges, just more so putting yourself out there. That's always something that we have to battle. Just deciding
True.
to go ahead and go all in and execute and deliver. So I would say that was just the biggest thing. Like, okay, I made this. Let me not hesitate. Let me just go ahead and put it out. So something just locking in and saying, okay, as soon as this is done, we'll put it out, adjust, fix it as we go along. So it's kind of how the
Awesome.
mentality went into creating that.
Yeah, that's I think a step that holds a lot of people back, and it's just kind of like, if you get over that hump of, you're ready to put yourself out there. I think a lot of people would be successful as well. You also mentioned you have a book, from zero to crypto. Can you tell me about that book and kind of what that process was like for you?
So I was one of the people that did not invest in Bitcoin back in the day, even though they heard about it. I was just like, man, I'm not listening to that.
Yeah,
I
that was
don't
me.
believe anything. What are you talking about? Computer, money, what?
Right.
Watching that happen. And then back in 2018, 2019, seeing crypto become a little bit more discussed, still kind of was like, yeah, I'm not touching it. Fast forward to this year, just seeing how it is being kind of plastered on the news now is starting to become more of a hot topic. They're starting to do legislation around it. I was just like, man, let me lock in and figure this stuff out. And it's not necessarily financial advice. I wrote it more so like a resource, a guide
Okay.
for people who may be overwhelmed with it. So it's like, whenever you're getting into a new subject, you're trying to tackle something new, it's really just about getting over, the information overload. So if you can kind of break it down in
Yes.
bite-sized nuggets, make it a little bit more palatable, then people will be able to pick it up. So I kind of wrote it with that in mind, like, hey, I want to make this as simple as possible so people can start to take action.
That's great. Yeah, I too, I mentioned that before. It's something I've heard of, but I've never looked into it at all. And giving people those tools to break it down where they can understand is huge um, knowledge for them to be able to have. Because sometimes I feel like, I don't think that people gatekeep on purpose, but sometimes, a lot of times, I feel like, people are doing all this. I'm like, how are you making that work? And that's a good tool for people to have, because, like I said, that's not something that you're going to usually learn at school either. Um, so that's wonderful that you were able to do that. Where all can people purchase your book at?
Right now it's on Amazon. Eventually
Okay.
I'll be doing some in-person stuff, but right now you can get it on Amazon. Got some pretty good reviews. Like I said, I wrote it for anybody as young as seventh, eighth grade, all the way up to uh,
Okay.
the elderly. So it's really something just for people to get started and take advantage of what's happening right now as things change. Because it's kind of like the beginning of the internet, email versus handwritten letters. It's the same
Yeah,
concept of finance. So everything is always evolving and transforming. So just want to make sure that we're with the curve or ahead of the curve.
indeed, indeed. Before this, have you ever written any other kind of books? Have you ever gotten into writing, or was this something that just was kind of fueled from your experience with crypto and kind of learning more about that?
Well, I wrote a book on real estate a few years back just for
Oh,
realtors. I was a realtor myself, so I was like, hey, let me write down a guide for people to get started. So that book is on Amazon as well. It's called Execute Your First 120 Days as a Realtor. Um, like I said, that
nice.
was
Okay.
just a how-to action plan for people who wanted to get started.
That's
So that's
awesome. Yeah, that's
kind of like
go ahead.
create, write, put it out, just put it out, and you know don't really hold back. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's a great place to be. That's when you get in that place. That's when things start to take off. That's awesome. So you mentioned earlier that you are you're a realtor. How long have you been a realtor, and kind of what prompted you to get into that field as well?
Since 2017. So
Oh, okay.
I will say just coming out to Dallas. I'm originally from Virginia, military.
Mm.
We moved around a lot. Came out here as a pharmacist. Was working for a while. At the time, I was like, let me try to get into something that will help develop just sales and kind of help evolve as a person. So I was like, man, I'm gonna do real estate. I'm gonna just sit down, figure it out, and just go through the unknown to hopefully come out on the other side. And helped a lot
Yeah.
of people. Still continue to do so, and that's kind of transformed my view on a lot of things. And just being able to
Oh,
help people, it's been a blessing for sure.
oh, that's wonderful. And when you say it kind of helped change your view, what was that like for you? What does that look like when you say that?
Just doing for self, not necessarily, uh, traditional style working. So it kind of puts you in a different
Okay.
mind to be able to do both and just time management, creating a plan, following through with the plan, and then seeing the results. So just by undergoing that process, uh, just helped become uh, better.
What? Okay. Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I was wondering, since you've been in long enough to have seen the market go up and down and different things with COVID. Uh, do you have any interesting stories or perspectives from what that was like? Because I know for a while, I don't know if it was 2021, but like it was boom, everyone was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
selling, selling,
yeah,
selling, selling. What was all
yeah.
that like for you?
It was a bonanza, to be honest. It was just very, very active.
Mm,
Hopefully, come back to that. But a lot of people who bought in that time are sitting very nice right now, just because they took action. Whether
yep.
that be the interest rates and or prices,
Hmm.
because it's kind of crazy. The same house this year and 4 years ago may be a difference of $800-900 a month, just based off of
Mm,
an interest rate. So
yes.
um,
Wow.
biggest thing, like I said, just educating people. I had a monthly seminar, and
Mm,
hopefully bring that back here pretty soon, for sure.
yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like to me, and kind of what I've noticed. And we haven't purchased yet, but just watching the highs and lows, I'm just like kind of like, when is the right moment? When do we
Are
make
you
our move?
looking at the double dutch, like you're trying to figure out when to get in?
Yeah, yeah. And then even it's like when we're ready, then it's like other things need to fall into place, and it's crazy. But it's always interesting hearing from the perspective, of a realtor, kind of what that is like. Um, I'm kind of curious because it's something I've thought about here and there, and I know others have as well. It seems like a very fast-paced, exciting career. When it's good, obviously, with every career, when it's good, it's good. But what advice would you give to someone who might be thinking about getting into becoming a realtor? What might their first steps be?
I mean, after education, obviously, once you get the license, it's really just about creating a plan. And the biggest thing I
Mhm.
say is get as uncomfortable as possible. The
Okay.
sooner
Yeah.
the sooner you do that, the better it'll be. I mean, it's kind of like you have to develop those networks, talk to people, create opportunities, and it's a contact sport. So the more people you contact, the more probability you will have it being successful. And that's really, with anything. So I know sometimes I have to tell myself that when I'm not pressing on the gas as much as I could, but that's the biggest thing. You got to just
Right.
make yourself extremely uncomfortable and then continue to do that again and again.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. And I know sometimes I'm just like, man, can I be any more uncomfortable? But yeah, and it's if you can say yes, then push that and do that.
It's really, like I said, helping people, making people, or assuring people go through the process, understanding what's going on. But I mean, it's definitely a good opportunity for people who want to do.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, that's really good advice. um, so I was curious also, you know, what would you say, like, do you have any like crazy realtor stories or anything? I always just like to hear kind of about interesting showings or anything like that that you can or want to share.
Yeah, for sure. The craziest one. So we are in contract. We're about 4 days before closing, about to do a final walkthrough with a client. We get to the house, the door's unlocked, and I'm like, man, what's going on? That's kind of strange. So
Mhm.
we go inside the house. There is an entire family sitting at the dinner table. Somebody's cooking on the stove. And I'm like, hold on, what's going on? This house is supposed to be empty.
Oh man.
So apparently, they fell victim to one of those Zillow scams where somebody told them if they pay money, they can move into the house. So
Oh no.
there, it was just a big, crazy situation because I'm here with my
Wow.
client. Like, yeah, I'm about to move in here in a couple of days. Whole other family in there.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
it took
man.
a little bit. It took a little bit, but we got them out of there. Got the sellers to basically clean the house again, and then we ended up
Yeah.
closed. But just that was
Oh
probably the
man.
craziest story.
Oh, that's wild. I mean, I've heard of scams, but that's pretty. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can't get more awkward than that. um, Also, something I'm also curious about. Would you have any advice or about for someone who might want to start like investing in real estate? Is that not really your area, or is that something you might could speak on a little
Um, that's not really my area per se.
bit? Okay.
I would
Mhm.
say, if anything though, just run the numbers.
Okay.
Um, get with a good uh, lender. Make sure that they can break down your actual costs. But I mean, as a realtor, I can advise people on the numbers. So I mean,
Okay.
it's all contingent on the numbers. So you want to know real sales data, what that looks like from 90 days back to now, what's going on in the area,
Okay.
things like that.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Would you say the same advice would be for someone who's looking to purchase a home for themselves? Or would you have any more extra advice for that? Or would it be
If somebody
difficult?
looking to purchase a home for themselves, more so figure out your budget, figure out how much you would like to pay a month, and then reverse engineer that into an area and or your must-haves in a home. And that's kind of what I do when I sit down with somebody. We'll kind of just map out the entire plan. Once you figure out, what you qualify for, then you can use that to say, okay, based on this price point, here are the areas that I would like to stay in, and then kind of just go from
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's good. Um, oh, what else was I going to ask about? Oh, yeah. Would you say that now is a good time to buy, or does it just depend?
Um, it's always a good time to buy. However,
Okay.
like I said, it's just depending on your deal. There's a deal every day. So depending on your situation, some people
Yeah.
feel that they might want to wait. There's a tax to pay with that though. Obviously, you see if people back in
True.
2016, they bought back then, they were ready, they decided to go for it. They didn't want to sit on the fence. Those same people, if you told them they had to buy right now, probably wouldn't have bought. So it's always a
True.
moving, living organism. So it's like you kind of got to get in those sweet spots. That would be my
That's
advice.
true. Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. That really does. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you would like to share? Any topic or anything that you would like to leave our listeners with? And then after that, we'll go into your contacts and how people can get a hold of you.
I say just going back to crypto.
Yeah.
It seems overwhelming. It's going to be a part of our financial future. Like I said, this isn't financial advice, but look at it, understand it. So when you start hearing certain buzzwords and keywords, you'll know what's going on and how you can start that journey. That's kind of the message I would say for that.
Indeed, indeed. Very good advice. The world is changing. Yeah, whether we want it to or not, it's changing, and that's the key to survival is being able to adapt. And that's hard to do for some people, but it's necessary. Um, well, that is all great information. Tell us, Randy, how can people contact you? And I will, like I said, post links to your websites. I'll post that on my different platforms with this interview. But if you want to kind of talk about how people can find you and your products, etc.
I'm on Facebook, Randy Bell. Do smart starter kits from zero to crypto. Both of those on Facebook and Instagram as well. Randy, your realtor. I'm on Instagram. That's the real estate page. Like I said, just reach out. Any questions, anytime. I'm available. So, yeah. Like I said, I thank you for having me out here. Definitely appreciate the opportunity to add value. So, thank you.
Of course. I am so glad that I've gotten a chance to speak with you. And thanks again for your time. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of the Ties That Bind DFW. We will see you next time. Have a great day, and God bless.